Before we break down the latest Dolphins news and rumors, like the video if you want a solo Dolphins watch party for week 2 of the NFL preseason, meaning we won't be simulcasting on the opponents. Yeah, we can have some more fun, not have to, necessarily be nice to a second audience in the process. Like the video for me right now. Going to begin with the latest on Cam Smith, as he is dealing with a shoulder injury. It does not sound serious for Cam Smith after he suffered it in the first preseason game for Miami. Does sound like he's going to miss some time during camp. Did not practice Sunday or earlier today, which, as we are filming, just wrapped up. So it's about to wrap up somewhere in that range. I would not assume that Cam Smith will play again in the preseason. I would certainly not be surprised if the Dolphins shut him down for the next 2 weeks and then get him back up to speed in time for week 1 of the regular season, which on one hand is a bit disappointing. You'll want your rookies to be out there as much as possible, especially when there is a starting spot on the line. At least it's not a severe injury. Here's what Mike McDaniel told reporters about the Cam Smith injury. We're fortunate that it's not long-term at all. With regard to his treatment in his body, the timeline's a little gray, but it's not long-term at all. The next couple of weeks could be sooner than later. That makes me think before week 1 is the general vague timeline for Cam Smith's shoulder injury. Smith was targeted twice against the Falcons. Now, he allowed catches on both of those, 2 pretty big plays. And if you're going, wait, the math's not mathing, he had a pass breakup too, as it happened on 2 targets. The pass breakup was a great play by Cam Smith. Wasn't even his man. That was not the intended target that he was covering. He did a great job to peel off and break up that play, and I thought looked pretty good in run support. Unfortunately for Miami, it's yet another injured corner. Jalen Ramsey is going to be out until December. That leaves Xavier Howard, Cater Cohu as your top options, and maybe Cohu gets some outside corner work in 2 corner sets. Eli Apple, Noah Igbinoghene actually looks pretty solid, as we'll get into here momentarily, but hopefully Cam Smith gets back sooner than later because the Dolphins are now technically down 3 corners, including Nick Needham, who remains on the PUP list, at least for now. So what is your concern level over the cornerback injury? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high. That is today's pinned comment. So if an ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. I'm a little bit on the lower end, at least the addition of Cam Smith from that perspective, because I am, want to get Jalen Ramsey healthy, You have almost a month until week 1. Not quite really. You got more like 3.5 weeks, but we can round and call it it's that. Hopefully Smith is good to go by then. I would continue to assume he will be ready to play for week 1, although he may or may not be starting. And in a twist of fate that I didn't really anticipate discussing this time of the year, Noah Igbinoghene is actually playing really well right now for the Dolphins, both in the preseason game he was in and in training camp. He fared well against the Falcons, picked off Tua on Sunday, which we'll talk about that practice here and what happened today in a little bit, specifically for Tua. And he also picked off Skylar Thompson on Monday. Igbinoghene's actually playing really well for the Dolphins, and he looks a little bit more like what maybe we were hoping he was going to be. I liked him coming out of Auburn. He is still very young after all, and I'm starting to believe a little bit that maybe the coordinator change is going to be a good thing for Noah moving forward. But if you're still a bit, traumatized from the previous years, I get it. And if you don't want to buy in quite yet, I get that as well. Speaking of things you should buy into is this NFL Jam shirt. The Dolphins version, Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill, is available at chatsports.com/DolphinsJam. You can also get the Dan Marino-themed NFL Blitz shirt, which is still a fun game, although I am sounding a bit older now that I can say that, but that is what it is there. chatsports.com/DolphinsJam. 4 roster moves to break down here for the Miami Dolphins. 2 at wide receiver. Freddie Swain has been waived injured as he's been battling a hamstring injury. Now, the way that the waived injured process works is once you clear waivers, assuming you do, I think Freddie Swain, well, maybe not, we'll see. You will then revert to the team's injured reserve list. You are out for the year as long as you are on that injured reserve list. There's also a process where you can get waived from injured reserve. If you don't sign, you could then potentially re-sign with the team like 6 weeks later, something like that. But I've never seen that happen in the NFL because they'll just stash him if they like him and just pay him. Or they'll reach an injury settlement. They'll be waived like John Lovett recently was by the Dolphins. So Freddie Swain's season with Miami is over. To replace him, Keke Coutee has been signed. Maybe a name you recognize, a journeyman NFL wide receiver, has bounced around in recent years to being a top, I think it was 150 pick, somewhere in that range, 125 maybe, by the Houston Texans a few years ago. Coutee actually has almost 1,000 yards in his young NFL season, or career, I should say, but he's never been a super consistent product. Pick 103, by the way, by the Texans at a Texas Tech. Has played for the Colts, was briefly with the Saints. He actually got waived a couple days ago. Dolphins then pick him up. Outside shot at making the roster. I still think he's behind, Robbie Chose and Eric Ezekama, Cedric Wilson, River Craycraft. But you can put veterans on the practice squad these days, and Coutee could be a solid option in that area. There is some return value there as well. So I like that pickup up by Miami, even though he's probably not going to be an active roster player for them. Now, we are 227 subs away from 43K. Free Dolphins videos all year round from us here at Chat Sports. The new host is coming soon, by the way. Make sure you are subscribed. Hit that sub button right now. All right, some more moves here, this time at corner. A familiar face has returned. Jamal Perry is reuniting with the Dolphins. Remember, they had originally worked out Perry a week-ish ago. I'll round because I don't remember what the exact date was because time blurs together during the preseason for me. So he is back now as a member of the Dolphins, adding some depth in the secondary after a player the team signed over him was waived injured. I don't know what happened to Mark Gilbert. It's all been undisclosed with what the injury is, but seems like he got hurt in the preseason game in some capacity, and the Dolphins are now waiving injured him. So same deal, he'll go to IR if he clears it. It's unfortunate for Gilbert if it's anything bad because he's been just decimated by injuries in his NFL career, or in his NFL and college career. Sounds like he got hurt once again, unfortunately. So the Dolphins' depth chart now remains super deep, and I think they're just trying to, again, get through the preseason because you're not going to play Ramsey. If you do play Howard or Kohou at all, it'll be like a couple series. That leaves Cam Smith is out right now, so it's Igbinoghene, Eli Apple. Those guys might not play a ton in the second/third preseason games, frankly. So then it's Justin Bethel. Keon Crossan's been banged up a bit as of late. I was actually really impressed by Keidron Smith, but Ethan Bonner is more minorly banged up at the moment. Tino Ellis, Bryce. It's a deep in numbers, thin in guys you'd be playing right now, secondary, at least at corner, for the Fins. I think this Dolphins roster overall is pretty damn good, despite maybe the offense not looking its best, but it means the defense is playing a bit better. So rate the Dolphins roster Madden style, 1 to 99 scale. Get your votes in for me in the comment section. All right, some updates here for the Miami Dolphins coming out of training camp practice the past 2 days. Tua was picked off 3 times on Sunday. Now, I want to preface this by saying I don't really care that much about training camp stats. Like, you're not necessarily calling your best plays. I think we overreact too much about what is going on there. There are some players we should overreact to, not necessarily someone I think is a very proven and reliable, accurate, good ball placement quarterback, which is unusual, and it's understandable if it raises some red flags because, the Dolphins' offense has struggled of late. But Noah Igbinoghene making a pick, Javon Holland making a pick, Deshaun Elliott with an interception, all of those on Sunday, and then Igbinoghene got another one today on Monday. Seems like today's practice was more defense blows up the play up front, line concerns remain, or Tua found Tyreek Hill for a massive play. I'm not worried about Tua's accuracy suddenly not knowing how to throw a football or anything along those lines. From that perspective, he's a really good football player. This is a reliable quarterback who, if that first year's there, it's only going to be a completion. So I remain a big fan of Tua's game. He's a very accurate quarterback. Maybe some of the big national media people will be like, oh, 3 interceptions. I'm not too concerned about it. The offense has had some issues lately. I think the preseason game was really more of an execution issue than it was a scheme or play calling issue. And I'll say this too. Maybe the Dolphins defense is just better now. Maybe that's where we're at. That maybe the Dolphins defense has taken a significant step forward, and it's making the offense look bad. Now, maybe that's just me looking with the, the orange or teal colored glasses, whatever we want to say there. But I think this defense is going to be much, much better than what it was last year. And it's a big reason why I'm not panicking over what could be a bad training camp day or 2 or 3 or whatever. I think the Dolphins defense will be much better. I think the offense will be just fine. I'm not overly concerned about a couple camp interceptions. Those really don't matter that much when you're an established player. So are you a member of Tuanon? I count myself in that group. A, because it's funny, and B, I like Tua. I don't know why he gets so much hate after all. Get your votes in for me in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no.